Take 6. Greetings and salutations, social media world. I'm coming to you from beautiful downtown Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas. As always, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to view this, what is supposed to be a monthly presentation. I got to tell you though, I'll sort of let February pass me by. I don't want to bore you with a lot of the depressing details, but the last 12 months has brought about for me some major life changes as well as some major and deep personal losses. I get past it just like we all have to do, but it's given me time to have some major reflection, some deep reflection, as well as some major transitioning in my personal life. You know what they say, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. Well, I ain't dead yet. But again, I do want to thank each of you for viewing this, what I hope, with your help of course, to build into a major opportunity for myself to serve as one of your reliable sources of political and entertainment news in the South that kind of gives you a different take on from what you're used to hearing. Most, as I've covered before, most of the media in the South is dominated by extreme conservative, religious, so-called religious folks, and so we don't get a lot of liberal views, and that's why I kind of bill myself as the liberal voice of the South. So what you're witnessing, my friends, is a ground floor building of what I hope to make into a vital media source that's not dominated by a small group that wants to limit and filter down the information that they trickle down to you. I'm not going to sanitize or distill the news. Much of the news that you hear on my program, you've already heard. It's just a different take. It's my take. You can agree or disagree. I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end of this presentation to give me a lot of feedback, tell me how I can make this a better experience for you. That's why, if you notice on my programs, I cover a lot of issues that are considered highly controversial, hopefully thought-provoking as well. At least that's the plan. So, that being said, this month's show is going to be slightly longer because I have so much I want to talk to you about. Because folks, let me tell you, there's been a lot going on in the 4 states area and in the world around us, and we're going to cover as much of that as I can without taking too much of your precious time. So, like they say in the clubs, let's get this party started. Let's go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma seems to fight progressive ideas tooth and nail. A couple of years ago, Sally Kern made headlines with all of her hate-filled rhetoric against the LGBT community, despite the fact that she has a gay son herself. In spite of it all, Oklahoma still managed to pass marriage equality, becoming one of many states to embrace equality for same-sex marriages. Now, this didn't happen without a major fight from the right-wing conservative extremists who seems to have infiltrated our national political scene. They've gone so far in Oklahoma as to threaten to stop issuing marriage license altogether in protest of this. Now let's fast forward to 2015. Now it seems we have businesses in the state of Oklahoma and other states that want to discriminate based on what they're calling religious freedom. In other words, if you go into a business, the lovely so-called Christians who own the establishment have the right to refuse service to you if they deem you or anything about you might go against their religious views. So let's use this scenario. Let's say that you're a normal, average Anglo-American boy, and let's say you fall in love with an Asian woman who happens to be a Buddhist. You go into the bakery, you want to order a wedding cake, and you tell the cake decorator that because your wife-to-be is a Buddhist, and you respect that you guys want a wedding cake in the shape of a Buddha. They can refuse to serve you if they claim to be Christians and your request goes against their beliefs. That's right, they can kick you right out of their store. Now that example is a little far-fetched, and most likely it would never occur, because let's be honest, folks, the proposed law is really a hateful excuse to have a tool to use against homosexuals in order to shame and discriminate against same-sex couples. However, there is good news on this front because there is one state representative in Oklahoma that seems to be level-headed by the name of Emily Virgin, who attached an amendment to this bill that said basically that if we're going to have a bill like this, that the establishment in question has to post a sign in their business that tells exactly who they're going to refuse service to, so that their bigotry will be hanging up right there for everybody to see. I thought it was a good compromise. The bill died. So right now it's dead. I'm sure it's going to rear its ugly head later, but for now we can rest easier. What we're seeing, folks, and we're seeing it in really bad in the South, but kind of all across the map, we're seeing people that are so full of hate and rage they're willing to take this country backwards from hundreds of years of progress that we've made on social issues. It would not be, if it wasn't so scary, it would actually be funny. If we're not careful, my friends, we're going to see in this nation exactly what happened in Germany in the 1930s. There was a time in this nation that we embraced the diversity and that we had great pride in it. But we've allowed a small group of government terrorists and extremists to wrap themselves around in a flag and hide behind their Bibles, and folks, they are going to destroy us. Now let's take a look at Arkansas. Now for such a small state, Arkansas seems to really stick out these days. Let me first say this, my friends. I have deep roots in Arkansas. My mother and father brought us here in 1968. Although we considered Dallas to be our home, we made a second home, and considered Arkansas to be a home to us as well. In fact, my oldest siblings fell so in love with the state, they never went back to Texas for any length of time. Not so much so for myself, my sister, and even my mother. We all lived back and forth between the two states, but we still always considered Arkansas to be a home to us. And let me tell you, Arkansas is home to some of the brightest, most creative people you'll ever meet. It's also home to some of the nation's poorest population. Now, if you know anything at all about poverty, you know that it is a generational problem. Poverty tends to be passed from one generation to another, and the ability to rise above it is not only made more difficult by your circumstances, but often your own family members make it more difficult to overcome extreme poverty. The powers that be here in Arkansas like to keep income inequality alive and well. Keep wages low and make sure very little opportunity is available to those who are here. It has made some major improvements since the days of I was growing up here, but I'd say it still has tons of room to improve. If you're a conventional, straight, heterosexual, Bible-loving couple with children, you would probably call Arkansas a perfect place to raise your child. I'm a large city person myself. I'm single and I like to be where the bright lights and the action is. That's just me. My mother retired here. We laid her to rest in January. And I have other family members here, and I'm pursuing some other goals that will keep me here at least for a couple more years. I got a little off topic here, so let me, I do apologize, so let me get back on track to what's going on in Arkansas that seems to have this tiny little state in the media spotlight over the past few months. I want to commend a couple of folks. Benjamin Hardy with the Arkansas Times, and David Taffet, a very dear friend of mine from the Dallas Voice. I want to commend them for their superior reporting of Justin Harris. Conservative radio in Arkansas refuses really to tell you anything much about this state representative who adopted two children, and because he and his wife thought these children to be possessed by the devil, decided to abuse his power and his position as a state rep and circumvent the Department of Human Services. That's the entity in Arkansas that handles issues of adopted children. He and his wife decided to rehome these children. Yeah, that's the term, rehome these children You know, kind of like you would rehome a stray dog, when you find it on the streets and you're looking to find another, what you hope to be a suitable home to take care of them. As it turned out, the family that these children were rehomed to, one of the girls ended up getting raped by the man who was to be her father. These very people, the very people that these children had to rely on to be their protector and for their safety and their comfort, raped one of them. Wonderful, wonderful values we got going there, folks. Now, according to David Taffet, whom I spoke to on Thursday about this story, and who's uncovered a lot of the details on this story, we talked a little bit about it last week, and he had this to say. He said there's even more stuff that's come out about this creep, Justin Harris. Excuse me. He said the latest I saw that after he handed his daughter over to the rapist, he filed legislation limiting, restricting abortions on raped minors. Really? I ain't making this stuff up, people. Now, had it not that he was bad enough, but David also goes on to say that the other Republicans that he's been talking to in the state are defending this creep's actions. I don't get it, but you know, these are valued. These are valued politicians, and these apparently are their values. David had this to say as well. He said the other thing that I loved about Harris in his right-wing anti-federal government ranting, that the school that he owns, he and his wife own a daycare center where, by the way, they obviously have been performing exorcisms on the children at the school. He's gotten almost $1 million in federal funds. So I don't know who you think the real abortion the welfare queens of this world are, but I'm starting to get a real clear picture of it. Here's another funny fact about this story. KARN's 1029's Doc Washburn, he posted a small article about it when it first came to light, but as is the usual conservative talk show mantra, he sugarcoated it and then began a frantic, fanatical campaign against Hillary Clinton and her email issue, which is another made-up non-issue in an effort to destroy Mrs. Clinton. Funnier even still is that Doc Washburn has called an all-out war for the newly elected sheriff of Garland County, Sheriff McCormick. Sheriff McCormick was just doing his job when he got information that a family with 7 children were possibly putting these children in harm's way. Now, I haven't talked to Sheriff McCormick yet. I am in the process of trying to do that and to talk to his office. But here's what I've got so far. Doc Washburn of KARN's 1029, he's basically called for Sheriff McCormick's resignation for doing his job when he got this information that these children were at risk. And so the sheriff took a task force, a SWAT team out there to the Stanleys. The Stanley the family is an anti-government, anti-establishment family. They homeschool all their children. The sheriff didn't know what he was going into, so of course, like any well thought of smart sheriff, he took a SWAT team with him, and they removed the kids. Now, I'm not saying that they were in some that the family was endangering the children. I don't know, but the sheriff had information that they may have been, and he needed to bring the kids to safety and then investigate the situation. Those children were the sheriff's first priority. Garland County should feel lucky that they have a sheriff who cares about kids so much. But Doc Washburn, the conservative genius that he is calling for his resignation. He tried to play off that the sheriff was a fellow conservative. He knew better. Let me just tell you, I'm on Doc Washburn's Facebook page frequently, looking at some of the the banter going back and forth, engaging with folks. And I will tell you, they often remind me of what a good research team that Doc Washburn has. So Doc Washburn knew that this man was not a conservative. He knew that Sheriff McCormick ran as an independent in Garland County. Here's what's got Doc so frustrated. Doc Washburn knows that Sheriff McCormick ran as a Democrat in the state of Florida. Doc has said on his show several times how much he hates Democrats and how he thinks that they are the problems, that they cause all the problems in this world. So I'm kind of thinking that Doc Washburn is like a lot of conservative radio show hosts, talk show hosts, that he comes from a legal background. I'm thinking that he probably, like so many of them, wasn't quite cutting it there, and he became a voice on conservative-dominated airwaves. Now, it's a common occurrence because look at people like Sean Hannity and Geraldo Rivera, both attorneys. Attorneys make really good money. Why a good one does anyway. So why one would want to trade practicing law for being a talk show radio host is beyond me. But I could go on and on about the attorneys who's turned into commentators and Fox News contributors and such, but I digress. Speaking of failed lawyers, though, let's take a look at Tom Cotton. Tom Cotton, the good old boy, the good old U.S. Senator from Arkansas who served as a clerk for the federal judge under Ronald Reagan. He worked for a short stint for a private law firm, and then suddenly, without much time in between and much chagrin about nothing, he decides to end his private law practice, and join the U.S. military and serves as a lieutenant in Iraq with the Iraq War. Now, let me tell you something. Tom Cotton, he loves war. He hates women. He hates gays. He hates poor people. And basically, from what I can tell, he caters to war profiteers, and he is another one of the candidates, another one of the politicians that tend to be a puppet for the Koch brothers. Just saying, Koch brothers have done a lot of playing around with our politics, and they have just bought just about every senator in every red state we got going. And let me tell you something, folks. Tom Cotton, he likes experience, but you better know this. The right, the Tea Party darling that he is, they are grooming him to be president in the year 2020. I also know this. I know that Tom Cotton has a very dark past, but much of his past has been swept under the rug, and a great deal of his past has just vanished. I've been trying to follow stories on this guy for a long time now, and there are parts of his past that just flat disappeared. It's like Jesus Christ. He must have wandered out in the desert for 40 years, and then boom, he is a military political candidate. And I'm going to tell you, that's pretty scary. He reminds me of how George W. Bush's past was kind of redacted from history books, and in much the way so is Tom Cotton. Well, let me tell you, this inexperienced senator, this newly elected senator from Arkansas, decided to write a letter to the nation of Iran. Now, as most of you know, Iran and our president is currently in negotiations in an effort to end their program and their desire for nuclear arms. So here's the deal, folks. You can like him or not. 53% of this country elected President Barack Obama to represent them and trusted him to act in the best interest of this nation and the people in it. Yes, he's trying to use diplomatic measures, diplomatic efforts to act in the best interest of the people. He's trying to use diplomatic efforts to try and reason with this rogue nation, Iran. We don't know what's happening in these talks. We really don't need to know, because right now we need to let our president do his job. But these folks, these extremists in the conservative right and the Tea Party movement right, excuse me, they are single-handedly trying to undermine our president. Tom Cotton tried to undermine these talks for his own personal and political gain. That's not all, though. Somehow he convinced 47 other co-conspirators to assist him. Now, did they break the law in doing this? Probably not. But most certainly they broke protocol, and as far as I can tell, they put their political selves before that of the American people. That's getting to be a pretty common thing these days. These folks are a danger to our country. They are a danger to our national security. If these men were on a ship and they did what they did against the ship's captain, it would be an act of mutiny. These guys really need to go. Okay, so let me keep this moving here, and I'd love to talk some more about Arkansas, but I've got to keep moving, and I still have a lot of ground to cover. So let's talk about Texas. Let's talk about some local Texas issues. Last month, there was a small East Texas community that was about to, unbeknownst to the residents there, become home to over 75 of Texas's most dangerous and violent sex offenders. There's a law passed in 2006 called the Adam Walsh Child Protection Act of 2006, which authorized the federal government to institute what's called a civil commitment program. What this program does is, when a sex offender has served their time in the prison system, and the courts and the prison systems has deemed these offenders as unrehabitable. They can't be cured. They can't. They really shouldn't be returned to society, but they've done their time, and so they under this law, under the civil commitment program, Texas has to house these people with your money, of course. And they have to offer them services such as counseling, transportation to counseling, and a number of other services to try to assimilate them back into society, which kind of funny that courts and the prison systems have already said they're not really going to assimilate back into society, but they've served their time. So, and listen, I understand these people have to be housed somewhere, but Maud, Texas is a town of less than 1,000 residents. They have a part-time police officer. They have they have a few small businesses. It's mainly a farming community. They do have their own independent school district. They're a tiny town. They're not equipped for this type of criminal element. So there's a place in Maud that's called the Restitution Center. It's located in Maud, which is in Bowie County, but it's owned somehow by Cass County. Now that in itself is kind of odd, but I won't get into that yet because it's kind of irrelevant for the story that I'm telling. But this Restitution Center is an unsecured establishment. It's located less than 1 mile from the school, and this is where these violent sex offenders were going to reside. If it wasn't for the effort of one woman, one person with the passion and the care and the wherewithal to bring this to light to the community, these people would have had to deal with this situation. Because let me tell you, the starting part of this story is that the local political leaders had no intentions of telling anybody. They were going to slide this under the rug. It was a backroom deal made between made between the officials of one county to another. They weren't going to tell anybody, and they even so much, I'm not going to mention his name, but one of the judges in Bowie County even so much as told law enforcement and the school officials to stand down, and worst part about it is they complied. Now, this lady, her name is Glenda Wilson, and Miss Wilson really had no experience in this type of community organization of organizing her community against the political establishment. But this lady does have pizzazz, and let me tell you something, people, when it comes to her community and the safety of the people in her community, you better watch out. Because the long story short of this, as after many letters were written, after many phone calls were made, after a Facebook page was set up to try to get the people to engage and to try to let folks know what was actually going in, a couple of appearances at the Commissioner's Court there in Bowie County, the state decided to house the offenders in a better place that was more equipped to handle them. There's a lot more to this story than the condensed version that I just gave you, but it's all water under the bridge right now because they're going someplace else. But let me tell you, as a result of this, after watching how these deals were made, the result of this ended in Dr. Wilson, which is Glenda's husband, Dr. Stephen Wilson, who has now decided that he's going to run for a place on the Maud Independent School District's board. Now, his opponent is a 25-year veteran that's on the board. He's part of the old establishment. He's been there, 25 years. He sees nothing wrong with how the board is doing things. I guess it doesn't have his opponent doesn't have a problem with the fact that most of the graduating classes for Maud can't even read at a 10th grade level. Some of them probably can't read that high, but the statistics I got are, they're turning out graduates that can't even read at a 10th grade level, and I guess his opponent is okay with that. We're going to be following this election very close. I hope the people of Maud, Texas actually realize that they've got a real opportunity to create some real positive results for the children, for their kids there. I hope they may see that there's not a problem with the way things are either, because after all, they've been doing them that way for generations. That's kind of a pet peeve with me. When I was in the corporate world and I used to sit down and consult with businesses on how we're going to change things, and they would bring me in and have me do an analysis and see where they need to make changes to reach their goals in their business. One of the most common phrases I would hear, and it just chapped my ass every time I heard it, was, "Well, but we've always done it this way." And that is probably why they aren't doing so well, and that's why communities don't do so well, because they've always done it that way. Well, guess what? There's probably a better way, and I hope that the people of Maud embrace that better way and elect, get behind Dr. Wilson. I think he's going to do some great things for the school board there and for the education process there in Maud. Let's go on here and let's go to Louisiana, which I'm sorry to say that I really don't have anything to report there yet, except that I think probably the oil in that state has just really eaten the thinking part of its citizens' mind. I am researching some stories out of there, and I will hopefully have something to report to you at next month's program. Now, let's get to my favorite part of the show. This is the entertainment section of my presentation. I love show business, people. I always have. I love everything about the business. However, I won't make my publication, not this video publication, not any of the magazines that I am involved in publishing. I refuse to be your typical tabloid gossip rag. I just won't do it. I don't have any use for for things like that. Anybody can sit and make up stories about people and make money on the names of celebrities, and I'm not going to do it. Some of my dearest friends are in some way connected with the entertainment business, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for them. Quite honestly, show business is probably one of the toughest businesses around, and if you can make it in that business, it's because you worked hard and you did it, and it was based on your talents and your stick-to-itiveness. And some people they have it, and some people don't. And so I have nothing but love, lots of love for show business and the people that make it up. Let me go ahead and talk about books for a minute. Let's talk about a book I've been reading. Patricia Marie Budd. She's a school teacher. She's from the northern part of Alberta, Canada. She wrote this book, Hadrian's Lover. Hadrian's Lover is a very well-written, interesting book. Patricia, let me tell you a little bit about Patricia. She, as I said, she's a school teacher. She lives in northern Alberta, Canada. She has always been a safe haven for GLBT youth in her 20-year plus career as an educator. She has always been a safe place for young people who are experiencing issues of bullying, discrimination, just overall being left out. She's always been a safe haven for GLBT youth. She is a very strong ally of the GLBT community. She's one of the dearest people I know. I absolutely love talking to her. You can check out her Facebook page, Hadrian's Lover. You can go to Amazon Books and buy this book. This is her third novel, and she is in process of her fourth novel right now, which is a sequel to this book. What I love about Hadrian's Lover is it takes the issues that we live in today, all of the disastrous environmental issues that we're facing, a lot of the political dysfunction that is currently in today's society, and the book is set in the distant future, and it's about a utopian society whose beliefs and ideology is completely opposite of what ours is today. Excuse me. She writes about the problems that we face today, and in her future, how these problems are going to impact that, and how discrimination and social issues are looked at, and how we look at them. The book kind of took me a little bit to get into. There's so much happening, but once I realized what all was going on and what's taking place, I couldn't put it down. And I love the fact that one of the villains is from Texas, because Lord knows we've got a lot of villains in the real world that are from Texas. So please show Maria Budd your love. Go to Amazon Books, buy the book, read it, because the sequel is coming out soon. And if you love to read like I do, you're going to love this book. So please go show her your love and read Hadrian's Lover and get ready for the sequel. Now, last presentation, the one I put on for you in January, I talked about a dear friend of mine, Frida Wagman. Frida wrote her book, which is called Snippets from the Trenches. It's a mother's AIDS memoir. And I was really disappointed. I talked to Frida not long ago. I was really kind of hurt and disappointed that enough people didn't go and check out her website, go to Amazon, buy her book. It doesn't cost that much. And especially all of my GLBT brothers and sisters, I feel like as a community, we owe this woman because she gave up a precious son, and she went and gave up her time during the most darkest times of the AIDS epidemic, and she gave of herself in ways that probably, if the truth be known, she probably lost a lot of herself in the process. She learned a lot, but she also, very depressing times. People were dying. At the time, AIDS was a death sentence. Not so much today, thankfully, and I'm working on a story for my next presentation that's going to have even more good news about some treatments and some possible things that are being worked on in that. But go to Amazon, buy Frida's book, or go to her website, Snippet from the Trenches. You can buy it directly from her. Let me read to you this press release that she sent out. This was dated January 31st. It came out of Houston, Texas. Here's what the press release had to say. It said, giving to others, Frida Wagman, author of Snippets from the Trenches, a mother's AIDS memoir, is still given. Houston, Texas, January 31st, 2015. The holiday season is over, but Frida Wagman, author of Snippets from the Trenches, a mother's AIDS memoir, is still showing how important it is to give to others. In her book, Frida takes readers on a journey into the trenches during the darkest hours of the AIDS epidemic in the Houston, Texas metropolitan area. Frida gave the ultimate sacrifice in losing her only son to this horrible disease in the 1990s. But in an effort to understand her son's illness, and since thousands of miles separated them, she embarked on a path of selfless service in helping others with the disease who were often shunned by their own families. When society and families rejected these early sacrificial lambs of the AIDS epidemic, she was there for them, helping them in any way she could, which sometimes involved just holding their hand and being there as a caring angel, or the simplest of tasks such as shopping or delivering food to them. Almost 4 years have passed since Frida released her book, Snippets from the Trenches, their mother's AIDS memoir, but her selfless and caring nature has never ended. Today, Frida continues to help other folks whose own family, for whatever despicable reasons, has abandoned them. Frida is a true angel of the GLBT community, and the GLBT community loves to recognize both members of the community and their allies who make a difference in the lives of others. The book is available through Amazon Books or in paperback directly from her websites, snippetsfromthetrenches.com. Frida is also available for speaking engagements for any organization who wants inspiration and public service for those in need. Please show your support to the marvelous person who has been there in a selfless service to others. The AIDS crisis is far from over, but advances in medicine have lifted the death sentence the disease once was. This would not have been possible had it not been for those victims who died in the wake of the epidemic, and for people like Frida, who gave her all to help others while at the same time coming to grips with her own son's illness. Please go to Amazon.com or go to her website, purchase her book. Again, folks, it would cost you less than a Big Mac meal to buy this book, and I guarantee you it'll be a lot better for you than eating a Big Mac. Let me talk about another very, very, very dear friend of mine. I just spoke to him the other day, and he's going to be, he's started a new show now, and he's going on tour. I've crushed on this man for a number of years, and I think he's a beautiful person, and I love talking with him, and I love watching him perform, and I love watching other people perform his work. His name is Dale Shores. He is a fellow Texan. He has written several plays and a few movies. He was one of the writers for the Showtime series Queer as Folk. He was also the writer of Sordid Lives, and the series Sordid Lives, which I believe was also a Showtime series. This is a beautiful man. He's talented. He has recently started his stand-up comic routine. He's absolutely funny. in the gay community. He's looked at as royalty. And I want to tell you, I think he's a beautiful person. So let me go ahead and read you the press release that Dale sent me last week. I'm going to read it. Dale's a perfectionist, and so I think he preferred that I would read this to you rather than to try to ad-lib and tell you, what a beautiful person he is. So let me go ahead and read this to you for immediate release. Dale, and it's a little tongue-twisting for me, so forgive me. Dale Shores Singularly Sorted premieres in Dallas, the Rose Room, on April 17th. This is coming from Los Angeles, California, and was released on March 3rd, 2015. Dale Shores Production is pleased to announce that Dale Shores is launching his new stand-up tour, Dale Shores Singularly Sorted, at Dallas's legendary The Rose Room. The Southern-loved writer, director, producer, and most recently added stand-up comedian has a love affair with Dallas. Having filmed his last two national tours, Dale Shores' Sordid Confession and Dale Shores' Naked Sordid Reality, at the Rose Room. The creator of the Sordid Lives franchise and writer, director, producer of Southern Baptist Sissies, Blues for Willowdene, and Queer as Folk is back with his all-new hysterical sordid stories. This time, Shores discusses the unexpected comedy of returning to the world of dating after divorce. Tinder, Grindr, Scruff, OkCupid, oh shit, quips. Sometimes, oh shit, Shores quips. Sometimes it's just too damn much. He shares a litany of bad dates and the trials and tribulations of being on the prowl again when you're a minor gay celebrity. And singularly sorted, told you it's a tongue twister, Shores also posed the question, did my movie, Sordid Lives, really influence 6 women to superglue their cheating boyfriends and husbands' members to their stomachs? And of course, Shores shares more letters from his haters and his P.S. fuck you responses. Also, he has some new celebrity dish on Dolly Parton, George Lopez, Leslie Jordan, and more. The censors will be absent, and if you're easily offended, Shores warns, stay home. The Rose Room is also featured in Shores' upcoming sequel to his sordid franchise, A Very Sordid Wedding. We are in the throes of raising the budget to make our final chapter of Sordid Lives, and I plan to shoot it in and around Dallas, hopefully in 2015. I hope so too, Shores said recently. So yes, the next time I'm back at the Rose Room, if they will have us, the plan is to bring the film crew along with me, along with Brother Boy. I love Brother Boy. Brother Boy had, if you don't have ever seen Sordid Lives, there's a line in Sordid Lives where Brother Boy is in a mental institution, and he believes he's Tammy Wynette, and so he looks at his doctor who's trying to cure him from being gay and says, my fans, they may be crazy, but they're loyal. I love Brother Boy. Dale Shores Singularly Sorted will be presented Friday, April 17th, 8 p.m. at the Rose Room at S4, Station 4 for you that are a little younger than me, and Village Station for us old folks who still remember it as Village Station, which is located at 3911 Cedar Springs Road, Dallas, Texas 75219. VIP seating is $30, general seating $20, and standing is $10. Reservations are strongly suggested by visiting daleshores.tix.com. If you get a chance to see Dale's stand-up routine, I can guarantee you will be thoroughly entertained. The man will keep you in stitches all night. You don't have to be gay to appreciate his comedy. You just have to be open-minded enough to understand that a lot of it is gay comedy and from a gay man's perspective, and but it's hilarious. And if you've never seen, so you've probably seen some of his work. He not only did Sordid Lives, he also did Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Will. He wrote several episodes of Queer as Folk. If you've ever seen the play Southern Baptist Sissies, it's hilarious, and I recommend that you see it. Let me get on with my next story, because time is going here, and I don't want to keep rambling and keep taking up your time. But this next story, I need to give you a disclaimer here first, because a lot of what I'm going to tell you is hearsay. There's some fact, and I'm going to try to tell you what the fact versus what the hearsay is. It's a very sad story. And it's a sore spot with a lot of people. When you hear the name Tammy Wynette, you think of great country classics like Your Good Girl's Gonna Go Bad, Apartment Number 9, and her all-time bestseller Stand By Your Man. Truth is, Tammy was one of the most popular women in country music during the 60s, 70s, and by the 80s she was still making the charts, although she didn't have a number one hit in that decade until she joined up with the British electronica group called the KLF in 1991, and then she hit the charts again on a different genre. The story I want to tell you is not really about Tammy. We all remember and love Tammy, and I will tell you, Tammy adored her fans. She was a true showman, and a lot of times she would go out and perform. She had a lot of health problems, especially at the end, and she would go out. She was your classic entertainer. The show must go on, and she loved her fans so much that she put her show before her own health, and ultimately she paid a dear price for that. But Tammy Wynette, she was married to George Jones, as many of you know. Her and Jones split up in 1975, I believe it was, and a couple years later she married a gentleman by the name of George Ritchie, who she'd worked with him on several occasions. Ritchie had written songs for both Jones and Wynette. So Ritchie, by his own right, he'd written for other entertainers and other artists. He was mainly a songwriter and composer. And he and Tammy Wynette fell in love, and I believe that they really did love each other during the first, several years of their marriage. I believe that, and maybe, let's right up to the end. A lot of stories that I've heard, I don't know. I wasn't in their home, but I've heard that Ritchie could be pretty abusive. I can tell you from my personal experience, I had tried on several occasions. I used to publish a magazine in Texas that I was trying to get a hold of Tammy Wynette. At the time, her and Ritchie had a place there outside of Austin. And I tried to get with them and talk to them about the place in Austin and a beautiful ranch there. And I wanted to have her in one of my issues of my magazine, and we just couldn't ever coordinate it. George Ritchie was her husband, and he was also her manager, and we spoke on several occasions. Just couldn't get. I was either going to be, I was going at that time. I was going all over between LA and Texas quite a bit, and I was going all over Texas to various shows and various events, trying to get material together for my magazine, and so. We just didn't make it, and it's one of the biggest regrets I have at that time, because I absolutely adored Tammy Wynette. But Tammy had married Ritchie, and they were married for several years and had a good life together. Even though Ritchie was a songwriter and had written some very successful songs, I still would say that Wynette was probably the breadwinner of the family. They had a friend, maybe, supposedly. Let me stop here. This is my disclaimer, okay? I'm not an attorney. Much of I've already told you is hearsay. A lot of it's my own personal theories. I'm allowed to have an opinion, and so I'm going to share with you my opinion. and in my opinion, is solely based on the research that I have done on this story. Let me tell you too, I have asked Sheila Ritchie, I have contacted her on 2 different occasions, and I've asked her to get back with me so that I could get her side of this story, but she's refused to do that. In fact, she would rather criticize Wynette fans as being bitter, mean, and mean-spirited and bitter. I got to tell you, I know a lot of Tammy Wynette fans. They're not bitter. They're not mean. They're some of the best, finest people I've met, and they adore her to this day. They support her children and the things that they do because, let's face it, after Tammy's death, her children basically got shafted. Tammy had quite a bit of a legacy behind, and George Ritchie. The rumors, fly around, but when you look at circumstances compared to the rumors, you have to almost believe part of them, and I figure there's probably some truth to all this, but. They had a friend. She was a young girl, not really. I think probably what I call a shirt tail latcher. She kind of hung around a lot of wealthy people, a lot of entertainers. She was an ex-Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Her name was Sheila Slaughter at the time. She has said that her and Tammy were like sisters. I don't know if Tammy felt that way or not. I can tell you this. I don't know any sister or friend who would marry their friend's husband. And that's exactly what Sheila did. Sheila Slaughter became Sheila Slaughter Ritchie a few years after Tammy's death. And, Tammy's death in itself had a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of controversy, but let me tell you, this is fact. Sheila Slaughter was out shopping on Tammy Wynette's credit card the day Tammy died. That is fact. There's a paper trail that shows that. Here's another fact. Sheila Slaughter, who was supposed to be such great friends with Tammy Wynette, married Tammy Wynette's husband. That is fact. Here's where some speculation goes in. There was a will, and I will tell you, because in my research, I've gone back and I've listened to 40 or 50 interviews that Tammy Wynette gave with various news organizations and various media personalities, and I will tell you that Tammy Wynette, she would have told any of them. She did tell many of them. In fact, there was one of the shows she did back in the 80s. Her greatest accomplishment, she would tell you, was her children. She adored her children. She always felt really bad that she couldn't be there. She worked. She was a working mom, and my God, she was Tammy Wynette. I mean, she could not be there for a large part of her children's growing up years, and she really had she carried with her some deep burdens over that. But that being said, she adored her children, and I don't think that Tammy Wynette would have left this world and not made sure her children were taken care of. But allegedly there was a will. A lot of this can't be confirmed as to a lot of the details because some folks have went through great lengths to seal these records from the public, and so but according to this alleged will that Tammy Wynette left everything to her husband George Ritchie. Upon Ritchie's death, allegedly, it was supposed to go to and be split among the children. However, when Sheila Slaughter became Sheila Slaughter Ritchie, and here's another interesting piece to this story, is that George Ritchie was in his 70s. He was old enough to be Sheila Slaughter's grandfather, but she married him. She got pregnant by him. She, in a way, if you look at it in one instance, pretty methodically planned out her future with this man based all upon the goods that were left to him by Tammy. Tammy left behind a trust with over $900,000 in it that Sheila Slaughter Ritchie talked George Ritchie into emptying. Sheila and George sold Tammy's music catalog, which was valued at over $1 million. There were gold records and paintings and memorabilia of all kinds that her children did not get one thing. Her children did not get one dime of any money. Sheila Slaughter ended up with all of Tammy Wynette's possessions, got rid of most of them, she claims, but when you look on YouTube, this is not so now because she's taken these YouTube videos down. I'll tell you why in just a minute. But when you look on YouTube, you would see that Tammy Wynette's memorabilia is laced all over the walls of her home. There was a grand piano, beautiful black grand piano that Tammy loved, valued over $900,000. There were paintings of Tammy that people painted of her worth a lot of money. The song catalog alone was worth millions. It's bringing Sheila Slaughter Ritchie a great income now in royalties because they sold it to another organization for X amount of money, and I think they probably still get royalties off that. That's kind of how the song industry, the songwriting industry works, is that you sell your art and then you make royalties off of it each time it is remade. So what the case, I'm telling you, it's tragic, and I don't want to open up wounds. I love Tammy Wynette. I love her children. I feel like I grew up with Georgette. We were about the same age, and I'm going to tell you, Georgette, she's got a career going herself that she's going to take her very far. But the story itself is tragic. That this woman come in, she talked their stepfather into basically dumping their mother's legacy, selling it to the highest bidder. Sheila, kept her Rolls Royce, which she was has been seen driving around town in her Rolls Royce, her furs, Tammy Wynette's furs. And after George Ritchie died, Sheila moved to Madisonville, Texas. Now, it's been rumored, and I believe I've even seen a listing that that indicates that the house in Madisonville became for sale for whatever reason. I think she's having some financial issues, if the truth be known. But again, it's my opinion. These are my theories, and until Sheila Slaughter Ritchie contacts me and tells me otherwise, I'm going to go with my theory. And here's what I think. The home was for sale, suddenly was pulled off the market. In February, the home mysteriously burnt down due to some kind of gas leak. The officials in Madisonville, like any other small Texas town, would probably do any despicable thing if they thought they were going to get a dime for it. And so the case locally wasn't investigated real hard. I believe that the attention to this matter has been brought to some state and federal officials that would probably is going to look real hard into it, because here's what I think happened. I believe that Sheila Ritchie is having money problems. I believe that she took all of Tammy Wynette's memorabilia, and I believe she hid them. And I believe that she or someone she knows arranged for that house to burn down. And I believe she's going to claim, not only is she going to claim it on an insurance claim, then she's going to, at a later date and time, try and sell this stuff to some unsuspecting soul who's going to slip up one day, and they're going to try to make a large amount of money off of it, and that's when we're going to find out that they were already paid under some type of insurance claim. That's what I believe. And Sheila, when this house burnt down, she had a GoFundMe page on the crowdsourcing site called GoFundMe, claiming that the house was a total loss. They lost everything and was begging people for money. Now, let me get something straight, folks. This lady has an income. She makes more than a lot of people make. She makes more than some people make she makes more in a year than some people make in 5 or 10. So let's watch this. I'm going to be watching it real close. I've submitted a couple of stories about it to some of my media friends and contacts. So far, only 1 or 2 is picked up on it. I believe it'll pick up steam as time goes along. But we're going to watch this one real close. Now I want to talk to you about a local group that I told you on my last presentation I'd been working with. The group is called Out the Box Film and Music Production Incorporated. They are a non-profit, faith-based organization. What they do is they work with at-risk youth who are making bad choices, probably in and out of the juvenile system and headed to bigger jail systems if they don't change their lives. And they're trying to change their lives through to get these kids to express themselves through music, film, and other creative media alternatives. Last presentation in January, I told you about the show that was planned in February. There was inclement weather issues that caused the cancellation of that show, and therefore they rescheduled it. Now the show is going to be March 29th. That's a Sunday. It's going to be between 3 and 6 p.m. It's called the Man Up Summit. They're going to have a lot of speakers, a lot of music. I'm going to be there myself. I'm doing a presentation for their vision statement. And I'm really excited to be working with these people. I love their mission. I love the fact that they're trying to get young people steered in the direction of expression through art and through film and through writing, creativity, and through media, different media alternatives. I'm really excited to be a part of this. Again, it's called, the organization is Out the Box. They are a film and a music production company. The show on March 29th is the Man Up Summit. It's between 3 and 6 p.m. You can go to ebright.com for ticket information. I believe there's, I'm looking on there right now, there's about 30 tickets left. So before they sell out. So please go buy a ticket. If you're in the Little Rock area, or you're going to be in the Little Rock area, go buy a ticket to this show. I think you're going to be really impressed. These are some great creative kids. Again, I'm so excited to be able to do some promotions and some bookings for these folks. I really enjoy working with them. The location, the show location is at the Southwest Community Center at 6401 Baseline Road there in Little Rock, Arkansas, 72209. Again, it's Sunday, March 29th between 3 and 6 p.m. You can get your tickets at ebright.com. They're $25 a ticket. I believe through eBright there is some kind of handling fee or such. But go show these people your support. They're doing some great things, and if you want to be well entertained and you want to see support a worthwhile cause, please go to this Man Up Summit on March the 29th. A couple more things I want to go over with you before I sign off. Don't forget, on March 27th, Friday, March 27th, go by Maxine's in downtown Hot Springs, Maxine's Live, where they feature every month Maya Alexandra and her co-host Tessa Martinez put on a really good show every month, and if you want to be entertained by some of the best entertainers that the Arkansas Drag Circuit has to offer, go see these folks. Again, because I go quite frequently, and I'm amazed at how much of the audience there, and it's usually a standing room only crowd, how much of them are straight people. It's not just a show for GLBT members of the community. It's entertainment. So go be entertained. Show Maya and her madams your support and your love. And one other thing I want to talk to you about, as many of you know, I'm in the process of publishing a magazine that ties into this video, as well as another magazine I'm working on. But I want to do the Our Times publication. It's a print version of this presentation that I'm giving you. I've run into some snags. I was gonna come out with this on in April, around April or May. I pushed back to about May or June. I may have to push back a little more. I'm trying to raise the funds right now for my printing cost. That everything else I've done out of my pocket, and my pocket just isn't that deep. So I really need some help here. If you have a business that you want to advertise on this presentation or in the print version, contact me. Contact me at Crisco, that's CRHISCO, Media Publishing at gmail.com. I will send you advertising rates. You can advertise just in the magazine and not be mentioned on the webcast, or you can advertise on the webcast, and if you don't want to advertise in the magazine, but generally if you'll advertise in the magazine and sign a commitment of 3 months or more, you'll automatically get a advertisement on the webcast. Right now, my audience is about an 82 to 8,300 worldwide. So I'm working on building more local readership and viewership in the 4 states area, and I'm going to be working on that over the next several months. I'm also looking for you to send me feedback. If you've got a news story for the area that you want to share with me, that that maybe no one else will pick up, and it's newsworthy, and it's information you want to share with the community, email me and let me look it over, and let's talk, and we'll get it on one of our future presentations. I'm also looking for donations and for advertisers. So show me some love, folks, because I really enjoyed putting this together for you, and I need the support. And I've got some pretty big national advertisers that are going to come on board, but they've given me a real big challenge, and my challenge is I've got to find local people in the 4 states area that's going to get behind this. So please support this and support us so that we can put together a better experience for you for political news, entertainment news. I'd like to expand it, do some issues on various places to eat, as well as places to shop, as well as just an all-around guide for and source for reliable news. Now, again, I'm liberal, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I'm going to always give you the liberal viewpoint. That's why I call myself the liberal voice of the South. And so if you like that, and you don't have to like it, you don't have to agree with me on everything. I respect that. So send me information. Tell me that you don't like it. Tell me that don't tell me I'm going to go to hell, though, because let's face it, I may already have gone. That's all right. But but do show me your support, and if you, like I said, if you've got a business that you want to advertise with me, send me your information. I'll send you the rates, and I'm trying right now to raise about $15,000-$20,000 to get my first 2 print issues out in circulation. I've cut my circulation in half to bring my printing costs down, because that was, I'd wanted to do about 40,000 issues. And not having any advertisers in it, which was the way I planned it, because I wanted to get it printed and then circulated and show advertisers that, what the potential was. But it's a little bit of a challenge, and I really need your help. So show me some love and support this publication and these video presentations. And that's really all I have this month. I will see you next month, and you guys have a wonderful time. And again, thank you so much for watching.